my gosh, it's very soft.
This is perfect. It's pretty magical,
I'd say. Aloha Busy Bees! We are continuing on with our Hawaiian series, and I can't do a Hawaiian series without having the queen of Hawaiian cooking herself, Alana. Look how you say
Kysar.
Kysar. I'm sorry. We could do that again.
No, I don't mind.
Okay. So she has this amazing book, Aloha Kitchen, and it contains the recipe that we are gonna be making today, which is butter mochi.
So it's like a sticky, kind of dense, coconutty rice cake, and it's delicious.
It's this right here.
Yeah. So you're gonna start with 4 eggs.
Okay, so how'd you come up with this recipe?
So everyone kind of has their own version of butter mochi in Hawaii, but I felt like it was really important to add salt because most of the recipes don't have salt. So mine does.
Look at that. A one-handed egg cracking.
Do one more.
That's impressive.
Is it? Well, don't speak too soon. Okay, so to these eggs, we're gonna add skim milk. And the reason why we do skim milk is because all the other ingredients are pretty rich. And so the skim milk's just gonna kind of even it out.
Oh, awesome. Now you said that this recipe contains salt, which is why it's different.
Yes. Yeah,
Nice.
most of them typically don't have salt,
Ah,
but ours does. And then I'm gonna also add vanilla extract.
perfect. Is a hand whisk okay, or do you?
Perfect.
Okay.
Everything can be done by hand for this recipe. And I actually think it's way better to do it by hand. If you do it with like an electric mixer, you're gonna be tempted to over mix it.
Okay.
You don't wanna whip too much air into this recipe because all those bubbles are gonna make your mochi kinda bubbly
Yeah.
and not even.
I made that mistake my first time, and it had like this giant air bubble, but then it crisped up
Yeah.
in the oven, and I was okay with it because it was still really good.
Yeah, and you know, even if you over whisk it, the thing that you can do is wrap your pan on the counter a few times, and that'll help to get out all those bubbles before you cook it up.
Nice.
Very hard to do today.
So you grew up in Hawaii.
Yes.
It's like a dream of mine to live in Hawaii.
I saw you guys were on vacation recently.
Yes, it was the best.
Which island?
We went to Oahu.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been to Maui for
Which is
our
where I'm
honeymoon.
from.
Oh, nice. What was like your childhood
Okay.
like growing up in Maui?
I mean, I think it was probably pretty close to yours. I mean, I played soccer, I danced ballet, I played the flute in middle school.
Beach every day.
I went to the beach on the weekends.
Okay.
But I grew up on the mountain, and so,
nice.
you know, the beach was just a weekend thing for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think people have that perception when they go to Hawaii that like you go to the beach every day and it's just like this perfect island life.
And it is. It easily can be. I had friends who lived right by the beach, but for me, the beach was just like a weekend activity.
Okay, so we are done with this, and then the
Yes.
dry ingredients, right?
Shall we
Yeah, let
switch
me
up?
move this for you.
Okay.
All right, so now we are gonna start with our dry ingredients, right?
Yes. Okay, so let's add 2 cups of sugar.
So what's your favorite recipe in this book?
Well, this is one of them for sure. My mother's Mochiko chicken recipe is in the book, and that is probably my #1 favorite.
I have to make that still.
So next we can add a whole box of this. So this is Mochiko, or sweet rice flour.
So if you can't find Mochiko sweet rice, it's like glutinous rice flour, right?
Yes, and you want the glutinous rice flour, not the other rice flour. That won't do the same thing.
Yeah.
And we're also gonna add some baking powder, salt,
Your secret recipe or your
Secret
secret ingredient.
and then I'm just gonna give this a quick whisk. And then we can actually whisk in that wet.
Okay, slowly.
Just go. Okay. Just like an even pour.
I'm nervous because this is the author here and it's, you know, I don't want to mess it
Well,
up.
the fun part is this is a really simple recipe and it's really hard to mess it up. So I think we're okay. If it starts to get a little hard to whisk, you can always switch to a wooden spoon. Switch. Here we go. That's easier. So you are basically just gonna mix it until it's all combined, so no dry bits. And then once we get this kind of all together, if you see a little bit of lumps, it's fine because we're still gonna be adding in a couple more wet ingredients.
Okay.
We can add in the melted butter.
Okay.
After that, we can add in the coconut milk.
It's starting to look super creamy and you're getting kind of an arm workout. Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's like the beauty of, you know, doing things by hand. You work a little harder, you earn what you make.
Exactly.
Okay, looking good.
So this is regular coconut milk. Do you recommend light coconut milk?
No, regular is perfect.
Regular,
Yeah.
okay.
Because you're already cutting out the fat from the milk, the skim milk we're using, so let's stick with regular.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to use skim milk, I have heard that you can use like a almond milk or an oat milk. I have been told. I have not tried it myself. Okay, we are good. So basically the check is there aren't a ton of lumps. If there are lumps, you just kind of take them to the side of the bowl and give them a little smush. Yeah, we're looking good. Okay.
Okay, so here we have a 9x13 baking pan. We'll just pour this in.
Yep, okay.
I know, I always get nervous when I'm pouring things because it never ends up inside the pan.
Doing good?
Yeah.
Okay, and if you see any of these little clumps, just give them a little squish before you get them in there.
Okay.
Next thing you're gonna wanna do before you add anything else is give it a little wrap. So we'll do it gently, but just kind of set it down a couple times. Ooh. And this is just to bring up all the air bubbles.
Okay.
And then if you see them, you can take a little like toothpick
Okay.
and just
I have skewers. You want some?
Perfect. Yeah, we'll skewer it. And this may seem a little extra, but I promise it's worth it because then you won't have any of those air pockets kind of ruining your perfectly even butter mochi. Okay.
It's those little details.
Yeah,
Makes such a
totally,
difference.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then there are just 2 more steps.
Okay.
We're gonna just sprinkle on an even layer of this shredded coconut.
So I'm using unsweetened dried coconut flakes here.
Perfect.
Can they use like
You can
the
use like the
sweetened kind?
you know, I don't recommend the sweetened kind only because this is sweet enough.
Okay.
But you can do like a shredded one, which is even finer. I typically use a shredded one, but this one will give really nice texture too. And then the last thing, it's just a sprinkle of flaky salt.
That is such a good idea because it really just balances out the sweetness.
Yeah, and just adds a little extra, you know.
Oof. Okay, so we are gonna pop this in the oven.
350 for about an hour.
Okay.
It'll be slightly jiggly. It'll start to pull away from the edges and that's how you know it's done. This is gonna be nice and golden brown, but the edges is something you'll see and you'll also see it puff up quite a bit. It goes back down, so don't be alarmed.
There was a crucial tip in your book, and you mentioned to not shake the pan too much after you add the coconut.
Yes, and that's just so that your coconut doesn't sink down.
I also was considering making this guava cake recipe. This right here. Before we moved to LA, we lived in San Jose, and there was this really famous bakery called Aki's. It's no longer around.
Yes, I know it.
Really?
Yes,
oh
yes.
my gosh. They were known for their guava cake.
Yes.
And so when I saw that you had this, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to make this. But I can't find guava concentrate.
Yeah, so you can just take a bunch of guava juice, put it in a pan or like a saucepan, put it on the stovetop and boil it down.
Okay, so we have baked this for an hour, let it cool. We hung out and just talked a little bit. If you can see, the edges are nice and golden brown, and that's actually my favorite part of a butter mochi. It's funny because the next day, you mentioned it gets into like this more soft and
I mean,
texture.
it changes the texture. So you want to, I mean, that's why you make such a large quantity is you want to have enough to have leftovers.
So it does get quite sticky. So your recommendation was to oil the knife a little bit?
Or you can use like a plastic knife and that'll really help to minimize the sticking too.
That's a good idea. But I'm just gonna spray this real quick as I spray my whole kitchen floor.
I will move.
Ooh.
I like hearing that crunch when it goes in.
This is such a good dessert to bring to like a potluck or a party.
It's like a mainstay at any Hawaii potluck party, basically.
So Alana had me cut this because she said she was terrible at it, but I'm even worse. I took off most of the coconut chunks. So Nate actually suggested using a bench scraper like this, and so we'll see if it works.
Yes. I mean, genius. Look at that. I love it.
Get it out.
Yes.
All right, so let me grab this piece. Comes out pretty easily. Does that look okay?
Looks perfect.
Yay! Oh my gosh, it's very soft.
It's almost like a dense, kind of chewy custard texture. And so the thing that you want to do is make sure you don't overcook it, because then you'll lose that nice custardy consistency.
Oh, okay. So like 1 hour is what you recommend.
Yeah, yeah. This is perfect.
You're right, the sea salt really gives it a nice balance because it is sweet.
Yes.
But you get like these two different flavors with the coconut too. So good, you guys. This is such a great dish to bring for like a party, a Hawaiian party.
Yeah, well, I mean, in Hawaii, it's like a mainstay. So any party, you're gonna find butter mochi on the table, I feel. It's a really good potluck dish just because it's easy to transport. You can have it, you know, nice and cool and ready to go, so you can bake it in the morning, worry about it.
It's delicious.
Not at all. Yeah.
Even bake it day ahead. It'll still be good the next day, right? Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Alana.
Thanks for having me.
This was truly delicious, and you guys have to try this recipe. But you also have to pick up her book. It's seriously one of my favorite cookbooks. Like, I always look through here for inspiration, and one of the next ones I'm gonna make is the pancit.
Yes.
Because I've always been interested in making that dish.
And sushi too.
Yeah. Anyways, you guys, we are gonna continue on with our Hawaiian series next week, and I'm gonna be making something from your favorite food truck in the North Shore. So stay tuned. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.